Hi, I'm Rohit Talwar from Fast Future, here in Munich with Huawei to look at the ideas, inspirations and innovations that are going to be on display, see how the industry is gearing up to help businesses, governments and societies deal with the challenges of greening, of accelerating change and innovation in a world of digital transformation. We'll be reporting in more over the course of the day and hope you enjoy what we've got to share. And I'm here with Zhangfu Peng, the Vice President of IT for Huawei. Let's start by taking the big picture. What do you think are some of the big strategic drivers that are requiring organizations to think hard about their data management infrastructure?
Yes, I think first of all, this digital transformation is very important for all the enterprises, organizations around the world. And we suffer a lot of uncertainties and new coming of technologies, and we want to solve some things in more efficient way. For example, we must rely on digital ways, digital infrastructures rather than previous infrastructure. When the COVID-19 comes in, we go much more online. So this is a lot of things. It is from the physical world and the digital world to be worked together. And on the other hand, when it's go more digital, we also need to be more environment friendly, because we are all calling for the carbon neutral strategy. We need a green future. So the green is always a very important fundamental thing in our transformation. And for this one, digital infrastructure, I think previously in the IT, it would be majorly three things. The first thing will be the connectivity. We always know we have the fiber connections, so broadband, we have the routers, we have all the things connected, IoTs, Internet of Things. Yet on the other hand, also we learn about something computing. So this kind of CPU in the PC or servers, or sometimes this kind of CPU, NPU for intelligence, AI, something like that. But many of the time, people are lack of knowledge on the data storage. So if you go digital, there must be something digitalized. And for the digitalized things, you must be stored in some certain equipment or hardware, to make sure that we are housing this kind of data for processing and supporting business. And so this is something people normally don't know, but this is very important for the power of data storage.
Of all these things, which are your clients really putting the most focus on? What are your customers saying are the biggest priorities for them driving their demand for infrastructure that they have to manage? Because clearly their budgets aren't infinite and can't grow at an exponential rate. So what are they prioritizing?
The first thing, the major pressure definitely is the capacity. So when the data increase, it is yearly more than three times more, or 3.5 times more for some kind of capacity growth. But the investment in this case only maybe 10% or even less of the investment. So how to housing more capacity, it's not always come to the first. But this is something it is not enough, I say. And they come to us to ask for something really can accelerate the performance.
A lot about the drivers for data and the complexity, if you like, of the challenges.
Yes.
What are the implications of that for the data infrastructure strategy for organizations and the way we manage our data structure, our data infrastructure day to day?
Yes, I think we have some study with a third-party consultant company. We found out that in several industries, if we invest in $1 for the data storage, then it will come direct benefits around $3 to $5, because we have improved our production or operation, and the indirect benefits will be more than $30 or even $40. What does mean? For example, medical care. If we invest in more, so they do better research and precise medicine, and then it will help the more patients inside the hospital. And if this is helped for improving of all this kind of health status, so the society will not pay so much on the patient caring, healing, or insurance or something. It'll be more improved.
Let's take a little moment to then look ahead. Where do we go next with this? What are the next set of challenges? What are the next set of functional requirements and capabilities that you can envisage as we look to the next 5 to 10 years as we get to a yottabyte of data a day?
Yes, I think for the data storage, it is from the beginning of the internet age, it is famous for its reliability. It's a trustworthy infrastructure which can provide data, never wait, never lost.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for such a wide-ranging conversation, for going so deep, and to give us such powerful insights into where we're going in terms of data strategy and the management of these increasingly complex infrastructures. So rich. Thank you so much. And I'm delighted that we have here Luis Neves, the CEO of Jesse, to talk to us in particular about ICT's potential contribution to driving the green agenda and driving economic growth through that process. Luis, you talked in your presentation a few moments ago about not just ICT's potential to reduce emissions or help reduce emissions, but also the contribution that ICT-enabled sustainability can deliver to economic growth. Do you want to just tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about what you think we've achieved so far and where you think we could get to by 2025 and 2030?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question and the invitation. Where we can be around 2030 will depend very much how companies really harness the potential that they have. So digital companies harness the potential of digital technologies. We see very much companies working on the business as usual type of management, but we need companies to be more disruptive, and we need companies to change the way that they look into sustainability. Up to now, sustainability has not been part of the conversation. It needs to be, because all of our investigations reports show that by being sustainable, by introducing or embedding sustainability into operations, the value that you add to the company is immense. In our 2015 report, Smarter 2030, we calculated that value at $11 trillion. It's a huge amount of money that we need to harness, not only because of the money, but because of the impact that those companies will be making to ensure that the planet is kept on track. So my recommendation would be that companies adapt their purpose. They need to embed sustainability in their operations, in marketing, in sales, in procurement, at all levels, strategically at all levels. Because if they do that, they will see the benefits of sustainability immediately. And we have evidence about that. And secondly, is about how innovations will be then transposed to the other industry sectors, to the verticals. So it's important that digital really cooperates with every single industry, manufacturing, mobility, agriculture. We have all those technologies already today, but more innovations are to come. We see that our industry evolves at the speed of the light, and we need those technologies to really get into those industries, and we need to have more cooperation if we are aiming at harnessing the potentials that we have identified. And if we do that, then we can speed up the process, and our industry will be seen as the saver of the world.
So one of the really interesting things you mentioned there was the power of collaboration in facilitating the sort of transition and adoption of the sort of strategies that we need. What are some of the key features you think of getting to effective collaboration strategies and approaches?
We need to work and bring all the other industry sectors along with us. And that's why our Digital Repurpose movement and the summit that we are planning to organize every year, it will be fundamental. So the summit is organized around purpose. What's the purpose of a country? What's the purpose of a city? What's the purpose of business? What means purpose for education, for health, for transport, for agriculture? And we need all those stakeholders coming together with us to drive that agenda. Bottom line is that we're talking about business. We're not talking about dreams. We're talking about leveraging the capabilities of sustainability, but also we're talking about how can we better connect B2B with C, with the consumer side, so that the consumer is not the final end of the product that companies are selling, but also that the consumer understands what is the benefit of this technology for me. How can I better leverage that and adapt that to my sustainable life? And so this is the type of collaborations that we are driving in Jesse and that we are aiming at promoting as we move forward.
What are some of those things, some of those elements of the secret sauce, or the messages that seem to resonate when we talk to people around the world that move them from interest to action?
Well, that's a very good question. So let me put things a little bit back. So in the last, I will not go back to the 20 years, even the last 10 years, we've not seen really much people interested about the health of the planet or, about the world. Of course, we talked about it, but it seems that it's something very far away. Now that we are seeing more disruptions, not only climate disruptions, we are seeing other disruptions. We have the disruption of privacy with social media that is impacting our lives, is threatening our democracies. So it's our industry that is at the core of this. Then we see impact of digital in terms of, the circular economy dimension that we spoke about. There is another component that it has not been present in our conversation today, which is about the digital gap. What we are seeing is a more divided world.
The Our Common Agenda report is powerful. Do you think that the role of digital is clear enough in that conversation? And how do you think we can really amplify the understanding that digital can be a massive enabler for the kind of social transformation we're talking about in our common agenda?
So the role of digital has not been understood. And I do not understand why. So if you look at the climate convention, what you see the heavy industries and you see the conversations about the fossil fuels and all that stuff. You don't see anything about digital. For the first time in Glasgow, we managed to have a session around what we call the Digital Innovation Hub, which was good. It was a first step. But we need to bring digital into the climate conversation, and we need to start to measure the impact of digital so that policymakers better understand, also to make their policy decisions about how to invest on digital. We have in GSE a piece of work that we called it the Digital Access Index. This is a database with 17 digital indicators from 2G, 3G, 4G, IoT. We also have the price of communications and so on. And in these 17 indicators, we correlated them with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And what we saw in terms of the conclusion of this, it was first a report, but now is a tool, is a database. And where we have 157 countries. The world has 190 or 200. So almost every country is in this part of this report. And what we have seen is that the countries with a stronger digital infrastructure are the best and most developed countries.
And I'm here with Farhat Kadur, the VP of Alliances at Tempo. Farhat, tell me a little bit first about what your company does.
We're a European-based company. All the development facilities are in France, and our mission in life is to help our customers to manage properly the data they're generating, knowing that this is where they're creating all the value for running their business and delivering the right services to their customers and partners.
We hear a lot about the need to transform our businesses, to innovate, to accelerate, to be more sustainable and deliver on the green agenda. What are they saying to you about all these things?
The first thing that they're telling us is data is critical to them in the sense that this is where they're creating all their services, and this is where they're going to create the services that they will be delivering to the field, to their customers in 10 years, 5 years from now. And data today is like an ecosystem. I mean, when you look at it, Huawei, as an example, is talking about Ocean Store, having the picture of the ocean being fragile and so on. Data is the same thing, but in a more global way. It's like Earth. If you don't take care of Earth, you're basically going to suffer. If you don't take care properly about your data, you're going to suffer a lot in your business. And what they're saying is that data has never been so huge. I mean, we create an immensely amount of data on a yearly basis. It's only increasing. And there are new challenges that are attached to that.
So you picked up or talked about the mission critical importance of data now. And what I took from that is if you don't have your data in good condition, your organization probably won't be in good condition for the future. So what are some of the challenges and priorities for those clients then around how they manage their data and their data infrastructure?
And I mean, to answer this, there is a way to look at this very easy. Data across a company is not only the data which is inside the company, it's everything that makes the data inside the company and everything that makes the data being usable and exchangeable with all the external people. The biggest challenge that they have today is to make sure that actually the data that they build on to make their business, to deliver their services, is going to be always accessible. They're going always to have sovereignty on their data, which in other words mean how can they manage to keep the control on the data that they're generating. And when you look at it, I mean, everybody has a strategy towards you should put your data into my storage, into my pieces. But today, the reality of large companies as well as small companies is that their data is spread across very heterogeneous environments. How can you make these environments compatible with the others? You have more and more data. You need more and more space to manage them, which means that you need more and more data centers with all that comes with it. And this has kind of a negative view. But if you manage properly your data, if you avoid to have duplicates, very simple way to look at things, then you optimize the way that you manage your ecosystem and you have a better footprint.
You talked a lot about almost the current needs and how they're accelerating. But we also see on the very near horizon already happening, people adopting artificial intelligence more with massive data sets, the move to drone delivery, people getting into metaverses and immersive experiences, virtual reality, people moving to distributed blockchain architectures. Coming next, we see the idea of autonomous vehicles. How does that then impact the whole data management environment?
It impacts it by a lot. With the very first thing, which is that at the very moment, we are basically multiplicating the points where we generate a lot of data. That data needs to be almost immediately taken to the right place in order to be handled, computed, and basically create the insights that you want to get from that data. And that's what we do at Embo. We protect data ecosystem, but with the verge of all the new usage coming, really the projection is about data mobility. It's about you as a person or you as an organization at any time to have the right data at the right place to create more value and make it useful. So AI is going to give you ways to place the data in a place before you thought that you would need it here. So basically, allow you to be more efficient in many ways and create additional value. And At that tempo, we believe in in freedom in terms of data. We believe that an ecosystem has no border, so that data needs to flow anywhere it needs to flow. And we believe in open ecosystem, like Huawei is. And that's why we are here partnering with Huawei. We believe that wherever the data is generated, there should be no barriers for that data to be leveraged with all the new empowerments, or the new solution.
So, Fahad, thank you so much for giving us your time.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for hosting me.
Okay. So we've just talked about an incredible scale of data explosion, if you like. One of the concerns that people have is that the data centers where we're storing this technology and processing it have a huge and growing energy demand because of this, and an impact on emissions. And we know that, as you say, domestic use of technology with more and more devices, growing business adoption of technology in every sector, the rise of the crypto economy, AI, and now we're talking about multiple metaverses out there. All of that's going to drive this. What does that mean in terms of the green impacts of all of this technology? What are the challenges we face there?
Well, the challenge is that we cannot build more and more data centers infinite, right? And one thing is that the budget of the IT for the whole industry is limited. As I mentioned, we have a 27% of the data rise every year, but the budget of the IT is less than, the increment is less than 5%. So that means we have to do more to save budget, right? This is the first part. As the second part, as you mentioned, is a green network, green storage, green data center. We have to protect our planet by saving the energy. So that's the biggest challenge our storage system are facing today, because we know that all the data finally will be stored on the storage systems. So storage system must consider how to cope with this data. So in summary, we have many ways to help our customers, help the societies. The first is to have a better hardware design, which are with a higher density, with lower consumption of power, and with new type of storage media. For example, for the SSD, that is a huge improvement in the power consumption than the traditional HDD. Storage system must meet the different kind of SLAs for the different applications, right? As I mentioned, the DNA storage is very suitable for the long-term code data archiving, but not all the data is suitable in the DNA storage. So we also have requirement for the high performance, large capacity, the warm data, the cold data. So the storage system must cover all this kind of data. And to make sure the people who are using this data, who are managing these systems, see a single glass of the management for the unified management, for the free data flow from the different layer of the storage. So that means we are not going to build a single storage box. We are building a foundation for the whole data, for different kind of data. Okay.
Fantastic. Wang Shesung, thank you so much. This has been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you going so wide, so deep, and taking us on the journey into the future. And I look forward to seeing some of these next generation developments come through. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.